Good morning, beautiful people. How's everybody feeling today? How's everybody feeling today? Okay, so I really want to talk about the dark night of the soul. Have any of you heard of this? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. So, dark night of the soul, growing pains. Some issues or some hills, some bumps that we have in our growing journey. So one of the things that has happened to me in my growing journey is that I hit these hurdles. So what will happen a lot in the past, what happened to me is I would hit these bumps and then I would feel guilt. I would feel pain. I would look at my life and I would just say, oh my God, how have I, almost like, how have I been living this way? Or I would make myself feel guilty beyond belief to where I would stop my journey. It would stop my journey and I wouldn't keep going. It's like I would retreat and go into a dark hole, almost like, and just feeling sorry for myself in a way. Like, how have I been living this way? How, going through the transition of whatever I was learning, I would just make myself feel horrible about it. And so I definitely encourage you, if you have moments where you have hurdles and you have, where you start feeling gross and you start feeling like there's nothing that can get better, that you keep pushing on. Anything that you can do. I'm actually going through a little bit of that right now. Feeling, maybe you saw my post yesterday, feeling some mom guilt. One thing that I have always strived to be is a really, really good mom. And so I take it very, very hard when I feel like I'm not a good mom. And it's become, certain things become hard for me to where I like literally retreat, and it's like a natural thing that I do. And I've had to work on that. And that's what you need to realize, is that your journey is going to be a process. It's going to be hard. And that is what the dark night of the soul is. The dark night of the soul is probably one of the hardest parts of a journey. It can be at any time. It can be multiple times. For me, I experienced it a couple different times. I experienced it harder at different times. But basically what it is, it's a realization that your life is a sham. That you feel alone. You feel like your life is meaningless. You feel like literally everything that's in it at this moment, maybe besides a few things, is completely pointless, meaningless. You just feel alone, and it feels very, very dark. It's when you start to go head on with some of your hardest tasks, some of your hardest growing pains. You're going to realize some of the hardest things that you have in your life. That didn't make sense. You're going to go through some really hard things. You're going to learn some things about yourself that are hard to hear, hard to learn. And so the advice that I give to you from my experience is try not to get stuck. Because the more you get stuck in that darkness, the harder it is to keep moving. And don't give yourself guilt. Don't feel bad about what you're going through. Realize that everything is a blessing. It really is. The universe has a plan for you, and you need to shed all of this to move on. A lot of times we have a really hard time changing our habits and moving forward because, I'm 32 years old. So I have done a lot of growth within probably the last 5 years of my life, like massive growth. So if you think about, if from 5 to 7 years old is when we really learn our inner voice and what we feel about the world, think about the world. I'm 32. That's a long time of being in that repetitive cycle. So you have to have grace for yourself and realize that it's hard to change your habits. Don't use it as an excuse, but have grace. You know, you mess up one day, wake up the next day and say, okay, I'm going to start over. Every day is a new beginning. That was a huge thing that I had in my part of my journey. I started saying that to myself. Every day is a new beginning. And I actually wrote it on one of my chalkboards. And when you start really thinking like that, okay, this day is over. I'm going to start over tomorrow and keep moving. That's all that you can do. All we can do is keep trying. You know, all we can do is keep moving forward and keep trying to learn what's going on and waking up to it. So, like I said, not feeling that guilt, not living in the yuck. Try to pull yourself out of it. For me, a lot of times reading other people's experiences, watching other people's videos, has really helped me move, because when someone else is experiencing the same thing that you are, it makes you kind of have this comfort, like, okay, I'm not the only one, you know? And being the dark night of the soul, it is a very, very lonely time. Right now, a lot of people are waking up and they're looking around and they're like, what the fuck have I been doing? I remember when I woke up like that. I remember those days when I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, and everybody questioned me. Everybody was like, what are you doing? You know, in parts of my life, I had family members who turned against me, people who I thought were closest to me. You know, that happens when you're going on your journey. You're going to lose a lot of friends, but you are going to gain even better friends, people who are real friends, people who are really there for you. And when you go through the dark night of the soul, you're going to realize who your true friends are. And if you notice, the real people have the least amount of friends. The fakest people have the most amount of friends, because fake people don't care. They just want to be popular, you know? If you're real, you want to have a circle of people who support you and who are really there for you. So don't feel alone, you know? If you're going through this, I actually am a Reiki healer. And what that means is I can basically teach you how to heal yourself, because we all have the ability to heal ourselves. So sometimes you just need someone to awaken that in you. So I wouldn't say that I'm a healer. I can help align your energy for sure. But you have the ability to do it yourself. We all do. It's just about raising your vibration. There's someone that I follow, and he talks about, this is such a great analogy. He talks about how we naturally have a very, very high energy. It's just that with all of these things we surround ourselves, it actually pulls us down. And he talks about how, if you think about like one of those really big bobbers in the water, or even like a fishing pole bobber, you have all this stuff, the weight and everything below that's pulling it down, right? But once you release that weight, what does the bobber do? The bobber's going to pop back up. So if you just release all of that weight, all of that fear, you can vibrate very high, right? So if you've never heard of energy or chakras or Reiki, that's for a whole nother video. But let me just say that, and I'll make another video about specifically all of that stuff. But we all have energy centers throughout our body. And if each one of those centers is not rotating or vibrating, what can happen physically is that you can get ailments. So let's say that we have your heart chakra, which is green. Let's say that you just have never felt loved, and you feel alone and you feel sad, you may have issues with your heart chakra. So you could have heart issues. You could have issues with your shoulders. Straighten up those shoulders. There's all sorts of things, but a way to align those is energy work, eating colored foods that match to your chakras. Each chakra has a color that goes with it. But yeah, we all have energy centers, and if they are out of alignment, it can seriously affect us. So I'll make a video on just about chakras in the future. But I really wanted to just share with you guys about the dark night of the soul, because I know a lot of you are going through that right now. And if you are newly realizing that you can feel other people's energy, it is scary, and it feels like, why am I like this? You know, for a long time I used to say that. I used to say, why do I have to be different? Why do I have to be like this? And I would try to shove it down. I try to ignore it. I try to shove it down and not deal with it, because it's hard being different. It's hard having feelings and emotions constantly and not knowing how to deal with them, and not knowing how to deal with the fact that you can feel everything in the world. So like right now, I can feel everything everybody's feeling. Everything. The sadness, the grief, the anger, and it can be a blessing. And that's what you have to realize, that you can empathize with other people and understand how they are feeling. How amazing is that? That's like such an amazing gift, and you can help other people realize their true potential. It's just use it. That's, for a long time, I've kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to say things. I didn't want to talk about stuff like this, because I was afraid a lot of what my family would think. I was afraid of what my close friends would think, that they think I'm losing my mind and I'm crazy. But this is who I am. This is who I am, and it's actually been quite amazing to speak up and just not care, you know? Don't spew hate, spew love, right? Spew all the love. Just put it out in the universe. You know, that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to bring people back to themselves. I'm trying to help others along this journey. I just feel like it's something I'm meant to do. So find what you're meant to do. Really dig deep and find what makes you happy. Find what you're passionate about. You know, in the dark night of the soul, really connect to your inner child. Connect to the pain that you felt when you were a child. Or if you didn't have any pain, connect to that child anyway, because that childlike wonder and kind of naiveness is something that we should have more of as adults. You know, we have so much worry, and yeah, there's some crazy things going on, but why don't we trust in the universe more? We really need to, you know, trust that there's a plan. Trust that everything works the way it's supposed to. I mean, you can look. This is one way that I know for me. When you go out into nature and you look at the leaves and you look at the flowers and you look at the bees and you look at all the patterns and all of the, how do I explain this? All of the, good Lord, I'm losing my words right now. Sometimes you have to speak up even when the words come out all funky. The patterns, that's the word I was looking for. It's early and I am still having a hard time waking up. If you look at all the patterns that you find on leaves and bees and all these insects, everything is perfect. Like all these dimensional shapes that you find on, you know, like a beehive. Look how perfectly made that is. You're telling me that's a coincidence? You're telling me that leaf patterns, that the blades of grass, if you take that and you put it under a microscope, what it looks like? The universe has a pattern, has a way of showing us that there is a method to all of this madness, if that made any sense. But to me, it makes sense. When I go out in nature, you can feel the calmness, and you can feel and see what it really means, what it's all about, this world that we live in. Anyway, I'm starting to say things that don't make sense. So I'm going to get off here. I hope that helped you guys a little bit with, the dark night of the soul, and just realizing that connecting to the darkness, connecting to your darkness is what you should be doing right now if you're going through that. Finding the things about yourself that you don't necessarily like, but digging deep to where that came from, where that stemmed from. We have things that we go through, traits that we develop, habits, because of where we came from. Did you realize that we actually are in our grandmother's womb at some point? So we develop all of our when we're in utero with so when I was inside my mom in her uterus, you are developed from an egg. All the eggs. Good Lord, I cannot talk. I think you guys know what I'm saying. This is hilarious when I try to explain things sometimes. This is why for a long time I haven't spoken up. Because I know what I want to say. It's in my brain. But it doesn't always come out the way that I want it to, So all the eggs that you will ever produce as a female are inside of you as a baby. There we go. I got it. I had to just stop for a moment. So when you're in your mother's womb as an egg, she was in her mother's womb. That's crazy to think about. And the reason why I bring that up is because if we are all energy, then whatever energy your grandmother had at that point, you also have that energy. So there's something called generational trauma, generational whatever energy. You take the energy from your generation. And so if you can change that energy, you change a whole line of your family. So connecting with who your grandmother was, connecting with her energy and trying to understand her can help you understand yourself, understanding your mother, understanding your father, your whole family lineage. There's so many steps to this dark night of the soul, but really digging deep to who you are, who you really are, not who you were told to be, but who you really are, who you want to be, because you have the ability to choose. That's when I say you're the creator of your reality, because you have the ability to look at these traits and these things that you consider flaws about yourself and go, that's not me. That's not who I am. And you can change it about yourself. Yes, it takes time. It's not easy. None of this is easy. Growing is hard. Growing pains, it's hard. But it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you become your higher self. You become a better version of yourself by going through all of this. Remember that. Remember that you are going to become the best version of yourself, and you're going to look back and go, you know what? I'm so glad that I went through all of that. It was so hard, but look at who I am now. Look at where I've been. And that's what I do. Wake up, be grateful. Be grateful for everything that you've been through. Be grateful for where you are now. Be grateful every day. Okay, I'm really going to leave now. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope that some of this helped. I am sending you all the love in the world. For real though, I'm sending you all the love, all the light, all the peace. And hopefully you can feel that. Thanks, guys.